Hi there, it's Louise with you of Timeless Craft Mama, and today's scrapbook layout share is for Colour Blast. Now, my page today is called Hooray Easter Egg Hunt, and what I'm going to do is use some of the colour sprays to create this kind of resist background, and then add some mixed media elements to the page as well. So I've started with this really awesome white plain background, and it's got foil over the top, which means that anything that you add actually resists the foil and the other product soaks into the paper. So you can see I'm just freehand spraying, and I haven't prepped this with any gessos or anything because that would cover up the foil, and I'm just simply allowing that colour spray to soak into the background. So I've used Caribbean, Lagoon and Indigo, and the Caribbean and Lagoon did kind of mix. You can't really see the difference between the two, but I felt like the Indigo was sort of being left out a little bit. So I did end up using the Indigo just to add some splatters in the background, and I'm loving the way that's looking. Now, I didn't actually have a plan in mind for where this page was going to go. I just knew that I wanted to put sprays on the background and have that sort of resist technique. As it's developing, I've sort of added some chipboard, and I'm going to use some of the colour paste in steel through this stencil. So this, I think, really does enhance the project. Sometimes I find that if I add too much mixed media, it just looks a little bit overdone, but I really like the way this came out, and I think that a lot of it has to do with the choice of stencil. So in this case, because I already had some patterns going on in the background, I chose the stencil specifically because it was going to enhance the project. Now, while my paste is drying naturally, you can see that I've taken just a scrap piece of paper and I'm going to adhere my chipboard. Now, the reason I'm adhering the chipboard is because I'm going to do multiple coats and I don't want it to move. You can see I've again used this sort of masking technique with the washi, and this, as you see it progress, is going to look like a big old mess, but it turns into a really cool chipboard embossed effect. So the first colour I'm putting on there is the Just Blue, and in the bottom there you can see me trying to find the little sheets of paper that I use to actually capture any loose embossing powder. Now, I did 2 coats of Just Blue, so I did that off camera because you really didn't need to see me doing that. Then once it was dried, I've actually taken that washi tape away, re-washied over the blue, and whatever gaps were left between, I've then added steel embossing powder. So you can see the effect is these really cool little chipboards that have this two-toned effect, and if you've come from the blog, then you'll see some close-ups of those two-tone effect chipboards. If you haven't, make sure you pop on over to the Colour Blast blog to really have a look at the close-ups of those chipboards. Now, I had this idea in mind that I wanted to do a longer type title, but I wanted to do lots of different fonts. So basically what I'm doing is attaching the stickers that I want to use and the thickers and the hooray word onto paper, or leaving them on the packaging, just so that I can lay the elements out on the page before I actually commit to sticking anything down. So this is not an essential part of putting a page together. It's really just my personal preference. I like to sort of know how everything's going to look before I start to fiddle around too much. Now, I originally thought that I may not mount my photo, which is very different from me, and then of course I decided that no, I had to put some paper behind it. So I have kept it very minimalist for how I would normally do paper layers, but I think that I had enough going on in the background that I just needed to lift that photo with those elements to highlight it off of that mixed media background. So I definitely think that the small enhancement of the photo really does add to the page without detracting from the awesome colour and texture that I've got going on in the background. So mostly what you're going to see from here is just putting the layout together. Off camera you can see I've stuck a few things down. There's a few little word bits and pieces. Now, I'm not quite sure why, but I can't leave a page without some form of border. So for this particular layout, I'm actually going to just smudge some of the black gesso around the outside of the white page. Now, you could do this with stitching, you could do it with doodling straight up with a pen, you could just leave it blank if that was your preference. So this is really just my way of finishing off a page. I like the way it looks, either mounted on card so it has a nice neat edge, or has some kind of finalization around the outside. And just because I added that little touch of black when it was not a particularly heavy on black layout, I'm going to use some of that gesso mixed with water just to add a couple of little splatters around the page. So this layout is then complete. Nothing too technically challenging there, but I hope you enjoyed that all the same. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and of course visit the Colour Blast shop to pick up the products available in this video. Thanks for watching.